everybody, welcome to Hasty Vegan. I'm Shayla and thank you so much for tuning in today. Today we're going to be making vegan tofu poke bowls. For those of you who aren't familiar with a poke bowl, it's simply sushi in a bowl. So instead of wrapping it in the typical seaweed wrap, you're going to have your rice base and then all of your toppings. So today our main topping is going to be the tofu. So let's go ahead and get started. In order to start the tofu, the first thing we need to do is heat up our pan. So currently in here I have 1 tablespoon of sesame oil heated up in the pan. If you decided to do sauteed onions as one of your toppings, this would be the time to go ahead and cook those. And then you would move to adding in the tofu. Since we're not doing that today, we're gonna go ahead and add in the tofu. So for today's tofu, I pressed the tofu, not required for this recipe, but I went ahead and did it, and cut them up in cubes. However, I did leave a few strips because I do want to actually try to make this into sushi. I've never done it before, so we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. Carefully, it is oil. Very good oil. I love sesame oil. It is one of my very favorite oils. I typically put more than it calls for. However, we're going to stick with the quota today, but I might add some as a topping later once the bowl is completed. So we'll do the strips separately. So you're going to want to coat the tofu with the oil, and then once we have that done, then we'll move on to adding the additional ingredients here. Be careful when you're stirring. You don't want to over stir or stir too harshly, because although tofu, this is firm tofu or extra firm tofu, you don't want to stir to the point that it starts to break into pieces like I just did. So don't do what I did. You want them to stay as cubes and therefore kind of maintain that structure. Alright, so we want to add the rest of our ingredients. So the first thing we're going to add is half of a tablespoon of rice vinegar. Okay. Then we're going to want to add, listen to the sizzle. Be careful breathing in and getting that steam in your eyes. That vinegar is strong. Alright, so the next thing we're going to add is 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. So this is 2 tablespoons. And then I'm going to get up another tablespoon real quick. Alright, and then 1 teaspoon of what's called sambal oelek. I'm probably pronouncing that way incorrectly, but it's just chili paste. And some recipes that I've seen online actually just call it by that name. They do not call it chili paste. Alright, so we're going to want to mix this together. And then we're going to also want to reduce the heat a little bit. So if you have it high, you're going to want to reduce it down to a medium-low instead of a medium-high. So the tofu that I have here is still pretty squishy in texture. If you wanted a more firm tofu, this is something that you would do in that very first step when we're frying to the consistency that you would like, and then adding the rest of the marinade. I'm also going to let it stay in the pan a little bit because I would like it a little bit more firm. So I'm going to let it just kind of get some of that marinade chart on it. So I'm not going to have a lot of extra juice by doing this, but I'm okay with that. And I'm going to start on our edamame and our corn. So for our first topping, I have edamame. And edamame is simply just shelled soybeans, and it's a typical appetizer at most of your sushi restaurants. Typically in the sushi restaurants, they actually come in the bean shell and you have to pop them out. But these are pre-shelled, and I've just been cooking it in olive oil with some salt and some pepper. And as you can see, it's got a little bit of coloration on it, but you still want it to be crunchy. You don't want it to get too soft. Because it does provide some texture to your poke bowl. Alright, let's move on to our corn. So I just added in our corn. I had a bag of frozen corn. It did not happen to be one that I could put in the microwave and steam, but that would be a quick way for you guys to also cook your corn at the same time you're cooking your edamame and your tofu. So I've just put a little bit more olive oil and put the corn in. So let's go ahead and put some salt and some pepper. Now you want to make sure that you're not putting too much salt, because you do also have the soy sauce that is in your tofu, as well as any topping. My favorite topping is eel sauce, which I'm going to be attempting to make tomorrow. And I also have a teriyaki sauce that I'm going to be using for the taste test in today's video. So we're just going to let this cook and go over here and check on our tofu. So our tofu is getting a really good color. So I think it's done. As you can see, it's gotten charred. The texture is a little bit more firm. It's not gonna just fall apart like it was doing earlier when we were stirring it. And let me go ahead and taste test this real quick. This is a great combination. The flavors are truly great. However, because I didn't use a whole block of tofu, it has got a strong salt kick to it. So it's a lot of sodium, which may be too much sodium with the salt that I've got in the corn and the edamame. So if you are doing what I did where you're cutting into strips, you're not using the whole block of tofu, you might want to start with just the 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Everything else is fine. It's not spicy. So if you want more of a kick, you might want to add more chili paste to it. And but otherwise, I like the combination of flavors here, the marinade, and I think it's good to go. So we're gonna turn that off, and we're gonna pull that off of the eye. All right, it looks like our corn is coming along pretty well. And that's it, guys. So it's time to assemble our bowl and taste test. All right, so it's all dished up and we're ready to taste. Before we taste though, I do want to show you guys the bowl. So here you go. What I love about poke bowls is, one, they're so colorful. You can literally put anything in here. So what I have in here is chopped red cabbage. I have pre-shredded carrots. I've showed you guys that in I think my very first video. I have some bean sprouts, the edamame, the corn, and the tofu that we cooked, all on a bed of brown rice. And for the base, you can do whatever you want. You can do your typical sushi white rice, you can do quinoa, you can do like a lettuce base, whatever you want to do in a poke bowl. It's kind of like the Subway of sushis, if you will. So let's go ahead and taste test. And then I also here I have teriyaki sauce. So this is a coconut amino sauce. So if anybody who cannot do soy, this is a really good alternative. I have used this brand is Coconut Secret. I've used this brand for their liquid aminos, or coconut aminos is what it's called, but it's the soy sauce alternative. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of sauce on here and taste. So let's get a little bit of tofu, some corn, an edamame piece. Got some cabbage, looks like I've got a bean sprout. Looks like I've got a little bit of everything. Definitely balanced. I love that crunch because it doesn't make me feel like I'm eating raw veggies, because you've got that flavor that's coming off of that edamame, that corn, and that tofu, and it is taking, I don't want to say taking over, but it's counteracting the rawness of that cabbage and those bean sprouts and the carrots. But it is so good. Like I said with this, you can do any type of topping that you want. You can do avocados, you can do cucumbers, you can do radish, beets, anything that you want on a poke bowl, you can put in here. Mangoes, pineapples, literally anything. So if you guys try this out, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what your combination was, what you did, and if you tried this tofu recipe. Also, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and you'll get notified of more videos just like this. Until next time.